But right now, to kick off Masters Week, it is an absolute pleasure. For the first time on Winnipeg Sports Talk, but certainly not the first time we've had this gentleman on, we welcome in Reid Fowler of DraftKings to get ready for Augusta. Reid, what is going on? Thanks so much for doing this. It's great to see you as always.
Yeah, likewise. When I heard that Bitcoin news, man, I would say do not buy a car with your Bitcoin. Hold that. You know what? Hold that for as long as you can. Bitcoin's. I know we're not on a finance show, but come on, guys, not financial advice, of course.
No doubt.
But man, I'm doing great. Masters Week, two in the last 5 months. Let's go.
How many Bitcoin does the Green Jacket winner get at Augusta? They changed that.
My rudimentary math? That'd be great. Like Russell Okung this. Just say, hey, yes. I don't want to get paid in fiat. Just give me the BTC, baby.
Reid, before we get to Augusta, we can't forget about what happened on the weekend. Jordan Spieth's back in the winner's circle. The timing for this could not be better. An already juicy bunch of storylines, get a lot juicier with the kid from Texas getting back into the winner's circle.
Yeah, good for him, right? He was trending when you saw it previously, right? He was getting top finishes, and Valero Texas Open kind of was the pinnacle event where a lot of the big name guys weren't there. It's still a prestigious tournament for a lot of guys on tour, especially Jordan. He's played well there in the past, and now he gets his victory, the 83 event or 80, whatever it was, 80 plus event monkey off his back. Now he gets to a course that he's played extremely well. From a DraftKings standpoint, I'm probably fading the guy because he won. But I can see why people want to play him because this is his course.
Well, and, you look at the odds that have come out today, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised that Jordan, he always got a lot of support in and around this event because of his prior history. But the fact that he has played so well for this, this stretch and actually won has now made Jordan Spieth like one of the favorites. And to think about that 6 months ago didn't really seem like it could be reality.
Yeah, maybe we should get our Ricky Fowler futures out, right? For Masters 2022. Get him at like 200 to 1 right now. No. Look, with Jordan, too, what you saw if you guys were watching yesterday's tournament or yesterday's final round is it's the driver. The driver has always been the issue for him. The guy, plays Army golf. He sprays it left, sprays it right, and he doesn't know where, the distance control wasn't there. We saw vintage Spieth. He got the ball in the fairway. His wedges were finer than a knife's edge, and the putting was there. He had close to a dozen one putts. And that's Jordan Spieth. That is his game. And that's why when you're here at Augusta National, you don't necessarily have to be the longest hitter. It's going to help, definitely. But this course is going to play harder. It's going to play faster than in November. Balls are going to roll out. And so even though strokes gained off the tee is one of the top statistics that we're looking at this week, guys like Spieth, other guys that can't hit the ball as far but that are great with their irons, like a Webb Simpson, who I'll get to in a little bit, have a shot here because they're really good with their approaches, wedges, and they have course experience.
Well, there's been people that'll be figuring out their DraftKings lineups, who they want to bet on, making all this. When it comes to Augusta, how much do you put into prior performance, experience at this course, and how much is it in current state of play, and how much of it is just something outside of those two things?
I would say right now, current form is always gonna reign supreme for me, but less this week. Probably there's 3 or 4 weeks I would say current form takes percentage away from, or course history, takes away from the percentage of current form, but it's still the leading statistic that I look at because you want guys to come in with some inkling of current form if they've placed in a tournament previously. So I'm going to weigh current form probably around 65, if I have to put a number on it, 65 to 70%, when it's usually about 85 to 15, 80 to 20 in regular tournaments. And then I'll weigh course history and course experience a lot more here, especially, Hustler, because there's no green books. Guys like Bryson, even though I love Bryson this week and he's one of my picks, he's not going to have a green book. And we know these guys love their green books. They love to see the degree of slope. They putt it to that point and they let it feed to the hole. That's not going to be the case here. So course experience, especially on or around the greens, is going to be extremely important. So I'm going to weigh course experience a lot more actually in normal weeks than I do here at Augusta National.
What about last year, Reid? I mean, many people, you saw the scores. I mean, it was played in the fall. It was very unique. People said it was the easiest Masters, if you will. How much can we take from last year's Masters? And of course, that means bringing up Dustin Johnson, where he's at right now. And a guy that I like that, I think has been really good this year, that has been in the mix a number of times, that was right there on Sunday in the last Masters, is Cam Smith. But just talk about what can we take from November's Masters as opposed to a normal one?
Yeah, I think, in the top 20, let's just say, which is not a stretch, you're probably going to see the winner come from, that, right? That bucket of guys. And that's not a hard and fast rule, right? To say, if you made the top 20 last year, then you're going to win the following year. That's not the case. But because course experience plays such a factor, and because Hustler, that was only 5 months ago, right? It's not like it was a year ago where so much has happened between that time. Most of the guys that are playing well 5 months ago, granted, barring a huge collapse, probably like that of Ricky Fowler, you're seeing these guys play relatively within reason of their form back in November. So take a look at the guys that finished top 15, top 20 last year, and then you're going to find you're probably going to start to shrink your core, right? And really tighten it up to see which guys you want to play on DraftKings or which guys you want to bet. Sure, there's going to be long shots, the Sunjays, the Cam Smiths last year, that are going to surprise us. But I'd look at that top 15, top 20 last year and really start there and build out.
So where's DJ? Because he has been out of some events. There's a lot of he's still the betting favorite at 9-1 in a Masters field. That just goes to show the respect everyone has for him. And, he's coming with the green jacket. Yeah. He got to set the table for the dinner this week. But where's his game at right now? Should he be the favorite in your mind?
Yeah, I want to know what his dinner was. Like, I want to know how much prep time it took him to figure out that it's probably burgers and fries. Which is quintessential DJ, which is why I love him so much, is that he doesn't care about the other stuff. He cares about winning.
Getting the ball in the hole.
Right, exactly. I think it's fair, right? Hustler, Jordan Spieth is the only person that I wouldn't be surprised on the DK Sportsbook if he became, either tied or above DJ. And the reason being his course history and then his current form are matching up perfectly. But other than that, right, I think everyone, including ourselves, would have a field day in saying there is no way Jordan Spieth should be at shorter odds than DJ, Bryson, Rahm, JT, and these guys, right? If you take a look at the five top five guys in odds, there's a clear case for all five of them to perform well. I would argue DJ, Bryson, and Rahm should probably be all the same odds. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those three were at DJ's spot, or they all were at the same odds because of how well they're playing currently or how well they've played here in the past.
I always love talking to Feinberg about baby swag. Jon Rahm, new father, coming into Augusta. Is this going to help him or hurt him?
Oh, man. If you talk to Feinberg, the guy's got it down to a science. I love it. Look, if baby swag at Rahm at plus 1150 or 1250 on the DK Sportsbook right now, but why not go with Bryson? Bryson doesn't have to worry about babies. He doesn't have to worry about anything other than the
He's
baby
worrying about everything, Reid. That's all he does.
Right, exactly. But everything is involved, inward to making his game better right now, currently. But Jon Rahm, outside of the baby narrative, Hustler, what other narrative do you need other than this guy's a top 5 machine? Not just at regular courses, but at these hard courses. He won the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village, which I would argue is close, right, in terms of the style of course, how difficult it is to score, how patient you need to be. He won. He won that course. So even if he's coming off a few days where his son was born, and he's tired, this guy's he's on cloud 9 right now. I don't think you need more of a narrative than he's one of the best players in the world, and now he's got more to play for.
We've got to mention Justin Thomas, and JT had, an embarrassing incident on the course that cost him some sponsors. He had a loss of his grandfather who was very close to him. It probably personally and professionally one of the toughest periods in, albeit a very charmed life that he's led. But he got back into the winner's circle with a huge win against a great field. It seems like we're talking a lot about the big guys, but I haven't heard a lot about Justin Thomas. Where are you on JT's chances to put on that jacket?
Man, a fourth place last year, or November, where he didn't have his best stuff. He clearly did not have his best stuff. Even if he just had 75% of what his cap is, he would have won that tournament. Now he's coming off a win at TPC Sawgrass. Another course that you can correlate here, right? A course that's been on tour for a long time. Not as long, right? But definitely as penal if you get into the wrong spots at Sawgrass. Greens aren't going to be as difficult, or the greens weren't as difficult as they are going to be here. And I would argue, though, Hustler, like on Fantasy National right now, if you look at his projected roster percentage, he's the highest. He's coming in as the highest roster player. But to your credit, right, we're not hearing about the betting market really getting after a guy like JT. What's that number, though? If his number was close to 13 or 14, of course, but you're getting that number without the current form. Right, like JT's number would be there if he wasn't playing well. Now he's playing well, and he's still not in the second or third of the odds. I think there's definitely value there. I think if you're going in a cash game for DraftKings, JT's got to be one of your top guys because he wasn't playing very well in November here, and he finished fourth. There's your upside. That if he plays a little bit better, he's going to be in contention.
Reid Fowler of DraftKings with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, getting ready for the Masters, which begins on Thursday. Now, Reid, it's been fascinating to see if you follow the betting markets, and every week, and of course you do. We've had a ton of winners that are coming in that sort of 25 to 33 to 1 range, really since the restart right now. It still is weird to see a guy like Rory McIlroy with the 20 beside his name. But I think it's justified considering that he has been absolutely mediocre this year, and that might be kind. I mean, if you want to touch on Rory, sure, but let's look at this group. Pat Cantlay, Brooks Koepka, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, and, I'll go down to, and I'll include Vic Hovland, Reed, Berger, Finau. Those are the guys basically from Rory at 20 to about 40. Of that group, who was one or two players that excites you the most that you'll maybe have a little more DK ownership on than others?
Yeah. I mean, at what point does Brooks just become a guy that you have to consider, right? Coming off the knee injury, Brad Faxon gives him fuel, gives all of us fuel for Brooks to be that guy that we want him to be. Second place in 2019. Yeah, he's coming off a knee injury, so maybe less than outright. Or maybe it is an outright, right? At 28 to 1. Kind of akin to what I was, with Rory and how I'm approaching Rory, is that this is the dip. This is Bitcoin Hustler in 2018, baby. You are getting Rory McIlroy at close to 20 to 1, and in some places 20 to 1. You will not see a number like this for Rory once he gets in contention or he wins. Right? He was top 5 last year, and he went with the same rhetoric about Rory. What's going on with Rory? He's not, he's just not the player he used to be. This guy has been inside the top 5 in overall world golf ranking for a lot of years. And, we're seeing a dip because he's just not been in contention. But at plus 19, plus, 1900 on the DK Sportsbook, or where you're placing your bets, of course, like Rory is someone that I have a similar narrative to what Brooks is this week. Of the guys a little bit deeper, you failed to mention one, which I do really like, because all of these guys in this range, there's an easy case you can make for all of them. But I love Webb Simpson. He's someone that this course is going to get harder. Like I mentioned, it's going to be harder, faster. So the distance that he might be losing to some of these top guys, like he's been dealing with that his entire career, and he's still churning out top wins. His past 5 events here read top 5, top 10, top 20. So when you're looking at that and looking at some of the odds and where he lands, he's at plus 3,500 right now on the DK Sportsbook. I think he's a fine bet. And again, you can make cases for Patrick Reed, for Finau, for Casey, for these guys, but I love Webb because we know what his upside is, and we know he's competed with the best and has won either a major or the Players' Championship in these strong fields.
Well, you know what? I was just about to ask about Webb along with Cam Smith, because I'm seeing those guys at some places a little bit even further back from that group we just talked about. You made a pretty good case for Webb Simpson. Are you interested in Cam Smith?
Yeah, I mean, look at his last 3 finishes, and especially at Riviera is a big correlation to Augusta National. And what did he do? He finished top 5, and I think that was his first tournament, since the Farmers, in January, late January. So he, takes a couple weeks off. I don't know if he went overseas, but he takes a few weeks off and he comes back and he just top 5s at one of the toughest courses on the schedule. And so when you take a look at that, then his top 11 at the WGC, is 17th at the Players. Like, what more do you need from this guy? What he does extremely well right now is his short game. That's the only thing that kind of scares me a little bit, is the putting is really causing him to play extremely well. He's been a little shaky with his driver, but he's played well here before, right? And these young players, they're not scared of the narratives. They're not looking at trends and be like, oh, because I'm a first timer or because I've only had a couple of starts, I'm not going to do well here. Sungjae Im, that last year was his first time, and what did he do? Runner up, right? Joaquin Niemann, he was cut in 2018. But he's coming in wanting, he was supposed to be in the November edition, but he couldn't because of COVID. He's probably hungry. Colin Morikawa's coming off a win. So these young guys, like a Cam Smith, look out for them because they're not scared about these older guys and the trends that we're usually seeing. Augusta National is tough, but these young guys are tougher.
Reid Fowler's with us now. Reid, just looking even further down the board, in excess of 50 and in some cases 60, Tyrrell Hatton, Lee Westwood, who's been amazing this year.
Yeah.
And then Tommy Fleetwood, Sergio Garcia, Niemann, you mentioned. Is there one player out of that group that makes the most sense from either a betting or a DraftKings perspective? The DK is key because, with the smaller field, you'd like to have a guy that performs well but might not have that same level of ownership as some of the other guys.
Yeah, so Joaquin Niemann is probably the most intriguing to me. He's right now, I believe, at $7,400. On Fantasy National, the site that I use to look at ownership, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners know quite a bit about the stat dashboard. But he's coming in at 13% roster right now, $7,400. I mentioned it before, right? Like strokes getting off the tee is definitely going to help. If you don't have it, it's not going to hurt you as much, but it's definitely going to help on those par fives where you need to score. He's one of the best on tour right now. Off the tee. And we know that when he gets on bent grass, he's so much better than he is on Bermuda or Poa annua. So I like him at $7,400. And a guy that I'm completely throwing current form out the window is Justin Rose. He's at $7,200 plus 8,000 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. So 80-1. I'm sure you can get him at deeper odds on books that you guys place your bets at. But there's only, I believe, 4 players ahead of him in strokes gained total since 2016, or maybe looking back a little bit in terms of strokes gained total. And 3 of those players are above $10,000 in salary. So when you take a look at that, he WD'd at the API, I believe, and he didn't play at the Players because of lower back pain. Few weeks to rest. I'm sure he's got a lot of that cleared away, working on his game. He always plans his time around around majors. And I think at $7,200, if you take a look at who won the Millie last year in their lineup, 2 players above 10K, 4 below 7,500. So that's how I'm trying to build my lineups this week.
Reid Fowler of DraftKings with us getting ready for the Masters. Now, Reid, one final question for you. Listen, if you want to win, if you want to cash a big ticket on DraftKings, you're going to need the winner. You're going to need some other top guys, but you're also going to need to make the most of your budget. I always like to ask you, give me a low dollar baller or two that we need to put in at 5 or 6 on the lineup. Rose at 7,200 is interesting, but is there a player or two kind of further down that you think provides some good value and that'll let us get Jon Rahm or JT into our lineup?
100%. I got 3, Hustler. I'm just going to name them. Number 1 is Lonto Griffin, $6,400. Whenever he's below 6K or 7K, he's worth a pick. If you guys don't know, Rick Rungood does a good breakdown of Lonto when he's under $7,000. Check him up on Twitter. Kevin Na, $6,500. We know what he can do in these tough courses, these long courses. He usually pops. And how about this? Henrik Stenson, Hustler. Henrik Stenson is $6,200, almost the min price. This guy, we know what he does at Augusta. He's been atrocious. So if you're making 20 lineups, one lineup maybe, and you'll be overweight on Henrik Stenson. He might a nice little bid at $6,200 because he's near other amateurs and other guys like V. A little risk on Henrik Stenson.
Hey, Reid, this is so much fun. Great to have you back on the program. Quickly, you must have a busy week going into the first round of Augusta. What do you and the DK's playbook have set up for the next few days?
Yeah, absolutely. Follow me on Twitter at Reid Fowler. That's where all my stuff's going to be. But articles are going to be coming out all throughout the week. We have a bunch of shows on our YouTube channel. We call it the Dream Stream, where we're going to be breaking down everything, questions you guys want to ask. So just go head on over to YouTube, look at the DraftKings channel. We're going to have a show today at 3 o'clock. We're going to break down everything. And also tomorrow as well at 3 o'clock where it's Q&A.
Reid, thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy the week. It's going to be awesome. It got even better with Jordan winning yesterday. I cannot wait for Thursday. Thanks, and let's do this again soon.
All right, bud. Take care.
Great stuff. That is Reid Fowler of DraftKings, as he mentioned, at Reid T. Fowler. You can get all of his content picks and whatnot, and read a great guide. He's actually doing the PGA, the live bit for the betting over the last couple weeks on tour. So great to have Reid on the program.